This video will contain incredibly major spoilers for the Somnium Files Nirvana initiative and the Hidden Bats ARG that went along with it. I strongly suggest playing the game or familiarizing yourself with the events of the story before watching this video. If you don't plan to play the game, or spoilers simply don't bother you, then feel free to keep watching. With that said, let's sink right into the video.
Alright, then I'll start from the part you don't know about.
I want to know all about what happened back then.
That's 490, secret of the world.
Their identity is unknown.
But the most intriguing thing is the Nirvana initiative.
I'm sorry, but I looked into your head.
What would you do if you discovered that your whole world was a simulation? A false reality created to cover up the truth of what lay underneath? Would you attempt to expose it, or stay in the safe, happy world? That is the question that lies at the heart of Nirvana Initiative. It's the question that the protagonist, Ryuki, will have to face. Or rather, the question you will have to face. And it's the question that founded the organization known as Nizet Laws. Nizet Laws, referred to simply as Niz, is an organization of people that believe in the simulation theory, that the world they lived in was nothing but computer-generated. We first heard rumors of their presence from Iris Sagan in the first game, but nothing was confirmed to be real. Horror stories of satanic rituals and human sacrifice floated around, but Niz never truly showed up. However, in Nirvana Initiative, we find Niz's central headquarters in Japan, and they become entangled in the events that unfold during the course of the game. The leader of the Japan branch of Niz is a woman named Tokiko Shigure, a cold, scheming person set out to tear apart the seams of the world and expose it for what it truly is. That is her ultimate goal, to achieve Moksha, a transcendent state achieved by being reborn. The only way to achieve Moksha, according to her, is to discover the secret of the world, the truth of its illusion. Although she had always been aware of this belief, she truly understood it one day when attempting suicide, as said in a note. She survived, and as a result, was blessed with information about the world, perhaps from being on the cusp of life and death. The information she came across was the existence of the Frayer. The Frayer is a being that exists beyond the confines of the simulated realm. In other words, you, the player. This entity has the ability to unravel the seams of the world and show it for what it really is, which Tokiko plans to use in her plan to achieve Moksha. With the help of former Niz member Chikara Horodori, they developed a method of editing human genomes they called Purge. This method of editing DNA was used to alter the genetic makeup of multiple characters, such as Mizuki with her superhuman strength, Shoma with his anti-aging, or Gen with his damaged skull. Later, they created TC Purge using Purge technology. TC Purged is described as being an organic nanomachine that enters the body, latches onto bacteria, and duplicates itself. TC Purge creates a protein known as CRISPR-Cas-beta, which can cut, move, and attach certain DNA nucleotide sequences. On top of this, it overwrites DNA structures inside neurons, effectively deleting them. In simple terms, it messes with the brain. Hard. It causes crazy hallucinations in those who have it, and we see that happen with the protagonist, Ryuki. Ryuki was injected with TC Purge, which made his hallucinations infinitely worse, and pushed him to believe in the simulation theory. After Niz observed the effects of TC Purge on Ryuki, they began their Nirvana initiative, a plan to infect everyone with the virus in order to tear apart the seams of the world. This plan lay against all of our heroes, who were determined to stop it by any means necessary because of the negative effects it would have on the people if it were to come to fruition. After a fight sequence and launching a scooter into the stratosphere to blow up a rocket containing TC Purge, their Nirvana initiative was successfully stopped. Everyone was saved, cue the dance sequence and credits. But that's not the end of the story. See, during the epilogue, a hologram from Tokiko informed us of something called a nil number, some sort of code we were supposed to use. By using the flowchart to travel back to Ryuki Chapter 1, we can go to Niz where Tokiko asks us a question. Are you a Frayer? Replying yes will prompt her to ask for the nil number, which we can now put in since we know it. Of course, this shouldn't reasonably happen considering Ryuki wasn't present when the nil number was presented, and obviously it was given to us in the future. This inconsistency, this glitch, causes the world to fall apart. Thus begins Ryuki Diverge, an alternate route that comes from ripping open the seams keeping the world together. And here's what makes it so powerful. It confirms Nai's theories. The world as we knew it was a simulation. They had been saying it for the whole game. But our protagonists opposed that belief, eliminating the threat and believing that their world, their feelings, were all real. It was a happy, satisfying ending. That feeling of closure and confirmation that the world was real makes the player too believe that yes, Nai's were the villains and they were incorrect. But that subversion of expectations, that final twist after the credits had already rolled, creates a scenario I can only describe as truly mind-blowing. The heroes were wrong, and it was so obvious the whole time. Tokiko had created a trap that no one wanted to fall into, but did anyway. They had a happy ending, but did it mean anything? These questions race through the mind as Diverge route begins. Tokiko is lying split in half on her desk, but she's not dead. It's not her corpse. As you can see, her eyes are still open, and she's even doing her idle animation. She tells Ryuki to find her, and disappears. We see that Mamoru, her bodyguard, is clipping through the floor, and his model is in a T-pose. The pose used when creating the model in a program. His face is also missing, because that face is just a plate that is swapped out for different emotions and expressions. He's just a 3D model, seemingly not finished with development. We're soon given control of Ryuki to find Tokiko, who is completely out of sight. The song that plays in the background when exploring around here is called, get this, 796F756B6E6F776572797468796E67. A bit of a mouthful, I know, but it actually means something. When decoded using hexadecimal and ASCII, the title translates to, You Know Everything. A very nice attention to detail and way of showing that, despite information being hidden, this is the true world. The song sounds glitched out and random, fitting in with the themes of Diverge and contributing to the overall atmosphere, being in an unknown situation and having your world turned upside down. You might look around a little bit before realizing that you can walk over the water or through the unfinished Mamoru model. That can go a step further when you realize that nothing has collision, and you can walk through the desk, the light, the statues, and even the wall. You don't just go outside when doing that though, you end up inside the void with a dark gray skybox. Looking back at the Nai's building reveals that it's just floating there, just like any video game space would. Part of the wall is clipping into another, and there's lots of rough edges. This is showing the world for what it really is. And I love how this is done because they don't just tell you it's a simulation after putting in a nil number. Tokiko tells you to figure it out for yourself, and the game truly shows you what the world is like. And they don't glamorize it or make it look like the Matrix or something. It's just a map in a video game, and they own it. They show it. Walking further out into the void shows Tokiko standing far away to make sure the player, or rather the Frayer, walks out of bounds and discovers what the world is. She's incredibly far away though, and it takes a minute to get there, mirroring the section at the end of Tokiko's Somnium where you're forced to swim a huge distance toward the Nai's logo and a book containing the words Nirvana Initiative. Once reaching Tokiko, you can interact with her and start speaking. Notice that the menu in the corner changes from Ryuki's orange to a plain white, representing that the Frayer has taken full control, and that is who Tokiko is addressing. This happens one other time in the game, when in the bar with Mama, who also speaks to the Frayer. When speaking to Tokiko though, the song Secret Faith comes in. Featuring the melody from the title screen, this song elevates the moment to another height because of its mysterious and heavy feeling. Secret Faith is seriously one of my favorite songs in the series because of this moment alone. It invokes such a magical feeling in me when I hear it. Back to the story though, Tokiko stands before us and explains that you, the Frayer, has transcended the logic of causality and torn a seam in the world, now existing in a space between the warp and weft of that fabric of reality. The paradox of the nil number has exposed that seam in the world, and it was only able to happen because of the events of the game. Everything was set up in order to achieve this glitch, a body split in half between two times, a timeline distorted and hidden. These were done so that the Frayer could become aware of their presence, and Ryuki would believe that the world is truly a simulation. By achieving this, the effects of TC Purge were heightened and caused the hallucinations that contributed to what happened with the nil number. It all happened to make this happen. Through this, Tokiko has obtained her ultimate goal and achieved Moksha. There was nothing we could do. But this exposed world can't remain like this for long. It's unstable. It has to convert back to the fake world, 6 years in the past. But before that happens, Tokiko allows the Frayer to choose between two options: sharing the events of the story with Ryuki or not. Not sharing with him continues the main game as it should. However, if you choose to share with Ryuki the details of the crimes and what Naiz was up to, we arrive at the second part of Ryuki Diverge, 6 years later. Coming to this point shows an alternate world where everything was solved. Ryuki got all the information he needed and created a timeline where everyone was happy. The culprit got arrested, victims were saved, and no one was hurt too badly. But this brings us to a dilemma. Was that okay? Was it okay to create an alternate, fake world where everyone is happy, using means that we shouldn't have access to? The other timelines are fake too, yes, but they're natural. Everything there happened as it should, with the characters figuring things out on their own and letting nature run its course, even if that course is simulated. But interference from the Frayer and creating an alternate timeline altogether, that might not be so easy to figure out, and I still don't know which timeline I would prefer. Arriving at the final scene of Diverge, we're informed by Mizuki and her twin clone sister that they somehow remember the events from the original timeline, the one that never happened here. They remember stopping the Nirvana initiative, even if it's just hazy memories. This is clearly due to the timeline being a bit different and extreme in how fake it is, and things just don't feel quite right here. Everything feels a bit off. Ryuki questions if it was okay to leave things like that, and Tama says it's the ultimate happy ending, but again, is it really? Just then, Tokiko appears on a monitor in the background. She states that the boundary between the real and unreal is ambiguous. That line becomes more and more blurred as time goes on, which got to its most blurry now with Diverge. It's all like a butterfly dream, she says. The concept of butterfly dreams are those in which we are unaware of the dream, fully a part of that dream world. This, of course, applies here, as the world presented before us is nothing but a fallacy. It's fake, just like a dream, but the characters are none the wiser, just as we were before we achieved Moksha. This game wears its philosophical beliefs on its sleeve, proudly using themes of halves, dreams, and reality to its full advantage. The subversion of expectations from the player and breaking through that fourth wall in a unique way not done before makes Ryuki Diverge a true masterpiece. Despite being a short scene, there's so much to gain from it being placed where it is in the game. The philosophical aspects of these games are what I love most, and this entire sequence really spoke to me and stuck with me for a long time. If I'm being honest, it's one of my favorite moments in any video game for just how it destroyed my perception of everything that I thought I knew about it. Figuring out you could clip through the wall, looking around to see the void and Tokiko in the distance, who explained the truth of the world, and then creating a false timeline in which everything is happy, it all fits together in being a fantastic ending to an already fantastic game. It left me with feelings of confusion, sorrow, but it got the gears in my brain to turn about what I thought of this world, of this reality. There are two halves to the themes of this game: lies and truth, dreams and reality. These take full effect here. Lies cover everything up throughout the game, whether it's something small like a body not belonging to the right person, or all the way to the entire world being a lie. The meta aspects of this twist and these parts never felt out of place because of how they fit into the themes of the game. That's why they were so good. It was all made with clear intention and design to complement what the game is all about. And yet again, there's still more. Upon finishing Diverge route, an extra file is added to the index called Nirvana spell. Opening it up gives us a short phrase, Frayer dumb letter. The meaning of this phrase is actually an anagram for butterfly dream, furthering the connection between this game and its themes. But this spell can be used for something else. See, a Nirvana spell is a password that can be used on a website for an ARG, an alternate reality game. Before Nirvana Initiative came out, there was a month-long ARG that led up to the release. Each week, 2 fictional characters were kidnapped by a foundation known as Hidden Bats, the host of a game. These 2 characters were locked in a room and only awake for a short amount of time every other day. For 21 minutes at the same time each day, one of the 2 characters would be awake and have access to a phone with only Twitter installed on it. They would tweet about their situation, their life, and ask for help. A puzzle would be shown, and people like us would solve it to find a Nirvana spell, a password. We'd put this password into the Hidden Bats website and get the code to give the character so they can unlock a box. This would go on for the full week until the final day, where players essentially voted to allow one of them to escape. In the first week, it was based on whichever one of the 2 had more likes and retweets on a post. The second, whichever had more followers, and the third and final week, a poll. Almost all of these characters were original for this ARG, with only the exception being on the final week, where Iris Sagan was one of the participants. That week wrapped up with a lot of drama, and the poll decided that Iris would be permanently erased from this world. But then, why is she alive and well in Nirvana Initiative? Why were the events of Hidden Bats never brought up? This is explained using the final's Nirvana spell, Frayer dumb letter. Once putting that in, we are congratulated for reaching that point, and informed that the 6 participants had the ability to tear seams in their worlds and interface with what lies beyond it. It's possible that Tokiko, Ryuki, and Mama all have this power as well, showing signs that they know a lot more than they should. This comes back to Tokiko when she said she truly understood the truth of the world after attempting to kill herself, which she said in a note to the Frayer. Hidden Bats, also implied to be affiliated with Knives in some way, kidnapped these people and drove them to an extreme state of mind to kickstart their powers. This allowed them to interact with us, the people of this world. All of our desires to communicate with them and solve their puzzles allowed us to open a gate to their dimension and interface with them. But then again, why didn't Iris and Nirvana Initiative know of this? It's simple. She's not the one that was kidnapped. The Iris that was kidnapped is part of her own world, not the one that we're familiar with. Our curiosity of wondering why the ARG didn't affect the game led us to search further. It drove us to find the Nirvana spell and, in turn, discover the secret of the world. All of these factors are what made me love this part of the game and understand that it is truly genius. I was lucky enough to take part in the ARG while it was going and have incredibly fond memories of it. I did fall into their trap of being curious, wondering more about the game and ARG. Ryuki Diverge was already fantastic as I discussed, but the tie-in with the ARG makes me even more happy with how this ended. I adore how every piece of the puzzle falls into place and everything builds up to this one moment. Everything was done for a purpose to rip open the world as we know it, both in-game and in real life. This interactivity and insanely meta nature makes me feel like this is one of the most fascinating stories of all time, and one that will stick with me forever. I can only wonder where the third game will go from here, if it will follow the fake world or the real one. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. After all, there is only one real truth. You are a Frayer. You can tear at the seams of this world.